Hey everybody, happy Monday and welcome to a brand new episode of La Vida Baseball Live. I'm Julie Alexandria here in San Diego with Jennifer Mercedes in New Jersey, Ozzie Jr. in Chicago. And guys, I'm a little jealous because I think I'm the only one here who didn't get snow over the weekend. Y'all get snow?
Yeah, it's still snowing.
I'm jealous. How much snow you get, Ozzie?
I got a lot of
snow. I don't get snow.
I got
here,
a lot.
okay?
You know what? There's a lot of people that talk. We get snow. Like it happens. This was like legit snow, like going outside and doing a sport. My neighbor next door is a guy who's really cool and has four-wheelers that have snow shoveling, because my father actually came over and he shoveled for me, and within 2 hours it was back to like 4 or 5 inches. So I'm glad I'm working from home. I didn't have to shovel. My dad helped, my neighbor helped, but it's a lot of snow. Like a lot.
How mad was your dad when all the work he just put in, like, basically amounted to nothing when the snow kept coming?
Well, he wasn't mad. He was like, I'm not going back, but because he had to do his house. And he's got a snow plow, like he's got one of those little machines. But again, it's just one of those, like, you have to just ride it out and just wait. But it was a lot of snow. Here in Chicago, it was a lot of snow.
Yeah, it's still snowing here. I mean, there's at least, they said it was going to be like a foot of snow. I'm looking out the window because I could see it. But they said like at least a foot of snow, and it's still coming down.
Oh my gosh. See, and you ask why I'm jealous. This is why I'm jealous, because I just want to get my snowboard out and tie a tether to like a pickup truck and then just get dragged around.
I asked last night on Twitter, never received a response. I asked Levita if we get snow days, but they didn't respond.
You know what?
I saw the post.
That's interesting, though. With Zoom culture in the pandemania that we're in right now, we don't really get snow days anymore.
Nope. The kids in New York, the kids who are doing like in school, like they did get a snow day. So at least that. I mean, I feel bad for the kids that are like, there's no snow day. I used to look forward to those things.
I feel bad for the parents with multiple children who have to be at home now because their kids are not in school and they're also working from home and they're trying to manage it all. So shout out to the parents out there who are dealing with this snow day. If you are in the Midwest or if you are on the East Coast and you're just
Chicago, right, Ozzie? I saw some trending news on Twitter last night with Chicago and schools opening back up or something like that. But
It's a disaster. Who knows? I feel like these kids have only been to school in 2 years. I feel for the parents though. But yeah, we don't know if we're going to get back. And I'm not familiar with the school system, but I know there's private, public, and then the suburbs of Chicago are very close. So it's like one household has kids in school and the other one doesn't. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but hopefully they figure it out soon and people get to go. My hope is if kids are allowed to be back in school, that's a first step to baseball coming back. Like I see it like you cannot go to C before you do A and B. So that's just my hope of like, again, in common sense, I don't think, and again, sometimes it's not so common, but schools.
All right. Well, I'm just going to sit here in my snow jealousy of both of you. But let's talk about some baseball news. One of the big breaking news stories that happened since we saw you last. Nolan Arenado to the Cardinals. The Cardinals and the Rockies have agreed to a deal. The Cardinals immediately becoming the National League Central favorite. So Colorado just can't keep a good guy, can they? They just can't keep a good guy, Jen. What's going on? And sort of how does this implicate things? And what does it mean for not only the Rockies, but also looking at the Cardinals? Listen, they've been kind of flying under the radar the past few years. Is this going to send them over the edge?
Well, obviously, the Rockies are not looking to win this season, I don't think, because if you give up your best player, your franchise player, right, and you're paying for another team to be better than you, it's interesting. But when I saw it, when I was actually in the middle of an interview when the news broke, and I was like, wait, what? But good for Arenado. This is great news for Ronaldo. He's going to be on a team that's going to be competing for sure this season.
Yeah, there were a lot of rumors circulating, and we were kind of waiting for this other shoe to drop or to become official. Ozzie, when you heard this, what struck you?
This is probably one of the weirdest trades, the way that it's structured. I've read it over like 7 times. They still haven't named the players. It's a disaster, okay? That's what it is.
A disaster for who?
Yeah,
for a lot of reasons. A disaster in the sense of like, it's very sad for baseball. So we just saw Francisco Lindor leave, okay? And the reason that Francisco Lindor left Cleveland was because they couldn't agree to a contract because he deserves more than they were offering him. So you see a guy leave to better, greener pastures. He's going to get paid in New York, hopefully, an extension. He got traded. We saw it with Mookie Betts. He couldn't agree to a contract with Boston. They trade him because they know he's not going to stay there. He goes to Boston, LA, they pay him. Boston fans are sad because they didn't keep him. Same thing with Chris Bryant, maybe Javi Baez. You have landed your guy, okay? The Colorado Rockies convinced the best third baseman in the game at the moment. It was him and Manny, for him to not go into free agency like Manny did, and they signed him. Yeah. Okay, they get a team-friendly $260 million. It came out to like $30 million, 35 with like so you kept your guy for the next X amount of years. So you have your piece. You have Trevor Story, build around that. The fact that they're trading this piece away, which how much the team is valued, I don't know the owner's personal finances, it's concerning. You couldn't keep this guy for the next 6 years. He's going to bring fans to the stands. And you send $50 million. He sent $50 million to St. Louis. And the part that's crazy, in order for him to waive his no trade clause, he gets an opt-out in 2021 and 2022. So the Cardinals are like, we better really hope this guy likes St. Louis. And that's why I think that the Cardinals went out and got Wainwright. He's back. I think Yachty now signs back. They're going to build, because one of the reasons he was upset with Colorado was Colorado basically lied to him about becoming contenders. So
all of the guys surrounding him one by one, poof.
Correct. So that's why I think the Cardinals want to keep him. This has like repercussions of like, it's like a domino effect. Like it affects the Cubs, because now the Cubs are like, wait, do we re-sign guys? Right. Like the Cardinals just literally became a contender, not only for the division, but I have him right now.
Want to be as good as them.
Favorites.
Yeah, so he might go, and they might be in the championship series for the National League. So now the Braves are like, we need to go get some more people. Yeah. Okay, this puts a lot of teams on like, oh my God, like they got a piece. So now this is a very dangerous team.
That's what happens every offseason when one team makes a move, and then it's sort of a ripple effect, and then all the
this is a ripple, but this is like a ripple. This is a big wave. I'll tell you how big of a ripple effect this is.
Is it a tidal wave?
It's a tidal wave.
Universal DH. Nelson Cruz might go to the Cardinals.
Interesting. Okay.
This is how big it is. Like that's how big it is. Like Universal DH gets announced. The Twins are no longer just a team that's like, oh, we'll pay you whatever you want. The Cardinals are like, hey, by the way, we would love to give you a 2-year deal while we have Nolan, because we're going all in. That's the type of effect it has on guys that are like still free agents, because I'm like, the Cardinals are really going all in.
Full circle moment that would be to have Nelson with the Cardinals. As we all know, the history of that out that he couldn't make in the outfield against the St. Louis
Cardinals. That's not his fault, by the way. That's not Nelson's fault.
If he could make it, and that, I know that would be the top trending topic if he's there. I'll take it.
So baseball got that much more interesting with this move, because, and again, I know we're going to talk about it in the next topics of what's going to happen in Universal DH, but they just became, and now Trevor Story, in my opinion, if I'm a team, I'm looking to trade, I'm looking to make offers and see if the Rockies bite, and I'll get myself an all-star shortstop.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens. Remains to be seen, but a tidal wave, as Ozzie puts it, and it does have implications on the Universal DH because we're still talking about it. The MLBPA turned it down last week, and now we have a new proposal from MLB, waiting to hear what the MLBPA has to say about it, likely to reject this one. But it almost seems, you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like the Universal DH is like the spinach that the parent tries to hide in the meal of the kid, just to get him to eat something, right? Because here we have this new proposal. So MLB wants to push back the season by 1 month. They're proposing 154 games versus 162 for the 2021 season, with an expanded playoff and the Universal DH. So once again, up on, the market here, trying to get the MLBPA to co-sign and say that they want to go ahead and move forward with the universal DH, obviously creating a lot of job opportunity out there and definitely changing the strategy that teams go about with the remainder of this offseason and into what is hopefully soon spring training, as far as who they need as part of their core. So what do you think, if you had to predict, Jen, MLBPA, what are they going to say to this one?
I still think they're going to say no because they don't want the expanded playoffs, but they are contemplating it, right? And I think most of their players really, really want, and I think MLB really, really wants the universal DH. I do have an issue, though, with MLB and them saying that this is for, the safety of the players. If this was really for the safety of the players, then you don't put in the extended playoffs. You negotiate that outside and you just give us the universal DH, if that's really what it was all about, right? But obviously it's not. Like, they want those extended playoffs. I hope that they come to an agreement, and like a lot of people have been saying, can you guys do this privately and stop negotiating publicly? Because I mean, it already looks bad. It's looked bad already since last season. At this point, we're like, we get it. You guys don't get along, but something needs to happen behind closed doors.
Okay, Jen, but by that rationale, wouldn't you argue that by them making it public, it's almost like everything's calculated, right? By them making it public, sure, baseball stays in the conversation, people have opinions, and because of social media and the greatness that serves people as far as having a platform, everybody can have an opinion, everybody can keep talking about it, and people's opinions can be heard.
No, of course, 100%. I mean, I'm not opposed to it in the sense because, I mean, here we are talking about it, right? It gives us something to talk about. But I just feel like MLB, from a PR standpoint, MLB continues to shoot itself in the foot. Like, this is not a good look for MLB because it continues to make them seem like they are always for the owners and never for the players. As much as they want to make this seem like this is for the safety of the players, if this was for the safety of the players, then all you do, push the season up and give them the universal DH. Don't argue, don't try to negotiate this other stuff that can be negotiated outside. And the union doesn't even need to come back and say, well, this is our offer. The union can just go out and they can just say, no, we're going to play however, like the season goes, 162 games, no universal DH, and no extended playoffs. That's it. That's how we're going to play. They can do that as well.
Yeah, it's very obvious that the expanded playoffs certainly benefits ownership and the teams themselves versus the players, because more eyeballs, more advertising, and more TV rights. So, Ozzie, in any situation, could you see the MLBPA agreeing, and do you think they will come to an agreement before the season starts?
They will come to an agreement, but I think I'm going to make a shout out to all the writers out there that are part of the BBBW, whatever your name is these days. You guys are just useless as a VHS tape or a cassette player. Okay, you are, because here's a story, and I talked to someone very close in the Players Association. The story that we all got is the one that makes Major League Baseball look bad, because it's like the highlight. Like when you sign an agreement, like when you're on your phone and you only see the highlight, the big bold letters, 154 playoff extended universal DH, take it or leave it. Everyone, including myself, when I first read it, I'm like, these players are just being greedy. They need to, and I'm on top of the players, and I'm blaming the players, and I'm getting on top of the players. Yet, when you look at the underlining of why the players are saying no, Jen touched on it. It's the safety protocols. Rob Manfred can basically call the season off for whatever reason he wants to. Okay, so the players don't want to go in wishful thinking and say, yeah, we don't want to agree to your 154 and playoffs extended because that small little clauses that you guys have on the bottom that are saying that you can cancel the season if there is more than like 3 teams that have had too many COVID people. And if there's a mandatory, if there's a state shutdown and there's more than 5 teams that are, shut down because of state rules that Major League Baseball has the overall. So when you look at those clauses of like, that's where the negotiation really happens. It's unfortunate that they're using the amount of games in playoffs to make players sign something on the safety. The decision should be made mutually, okay, with Players Association and Major League Baseball, because the players are the show. The owners are the ones that are risking the money, but the fans, they need to understand that the one thing is for them is the fans. But if there is going to be a shutdown, do it together. It's unfortunate because they did really well during the COVID-19 season where they paid the Cardinals 60 games out of 58, even though they didn't finish. They handled it really well. They never had we're going to shut down the season, have a fight between both of them. It's unfortunate that everyone in the media, everyone's covering it like, oh, it's only 154. Really do some digging and be like, why are they using these? Why is the Major League Baseball turning down this amazing offer? Because it looks like an amazing offer that looks really bad, in the inside. So it's like buying a beautiful home with like everything inside broken. They need to negotiate. They're using the universal DH as leverage. I admit the Players Association is not taking the carrot. And I let them, they have the advantage. Like Jen said, they have an agreement that it could start on time, 162 games, no playoffs, no universal DH. It's great. We'll negotiate when the bargaining comes. So kudos to them. But I would not buy in to the mandates of the COVID-19 protocol testing because they're very dangerous and they can pull the plug literally at any moment if they see that they're losing money.
Okay, last question for you on this, because I'm honestly curious. If COVID were not withstanding, if we were not living in a pandemic, if that was not part of this argument, would we still be having these conversations?
No, because
they wouldn't have even considered having the playoffs or anything. This was just an easy jump for them to say, oh, we're going to – for them, it's the owners are owners, okay? And if they come out and we're saying that fans are going to go to the stadium, we don't know that, okay? We don't know how people are going to react. We don't know what the money's going to look like. So let's say there is another wave and things that are coming out of Europe. We don't know, okay? And they say, okay, we have to play. They say United States, the government says no fans in the stands. We have to go back to, the drawing board. But they're allowed to play without fans. We're happy. We did it we did it for 2019. Let's do this. Players are like, okay, let's play. And Major League Baseball says, we can't. They count their numbers and they say, oh my God, we're going to lose so much money. Okay, because we've agreed to 162 games and we have to play 100 of them with no fans. Now we can't pull the plug. Well, with these little loopholes that they put in, they can pull the plug at any time.
Also, I believe last season they had negotiated TV rights profits from that. I think there was a set amount that was given to the players as well. This year
not anymore. That's gone. And the playoff shares are gone that they were promised in 2019. So they've done the math and they think that with the regular playoff shares, and again, this is a situation where it's unfortunate that they're making the protocols kind of like that, like their risk, their insurance for any risk that they're taking. And they're using the players as leverage of like 154, 162, spring training starting later. Like they're using all that as an excuse and dangling what everyone wants, the universal DH and the extended playoffs. What they should say is, guys, universal DH, extended playoffs, we'll agree with every protocol that we have. Maybe we might have to start 2 weeks later from spring training. Let's figure it out, but we won't pull the plug without the players having a say. Because let's be honest, the players can't say we're not going to play because they'll be sued. People don't know that. If players say, hey, we're not going to play because we're scared of COVID. Well, you already signed, buddy. You got to play.
Well, they can opt out.
They can opt out, but I'm saying they can't say as a collective agreement saying, hey, we're not going to play. Then you're going against the collective bargaining. So again, it's just they're negotiating. I'm just very unhappy how it's covered. The players are being deemed like the bad people, like the union of like, oh, they don't want to play 154. Like you guys are being greedy. Same thing happened during the strike in the 90s. They made the players be the villain of greedy players. And it's not a good story because, again, there's a lot of things that happen in the background that people don't know, and we should look more into just the title of the articles. And for the writers out there, go in, man. Don't be scared. Major League Baseball comes after you. Do some digging. Ask the right questions. Why do you guys ask the players? Why do you guys are turning this down and get the real answers? Players want to do it. They tweet about them all the time. They want to tell you what
happens when you are the writer and you get to control the narrative, right?
Correct.
Strong words for the Baseball Writers Association from Ozzie Jr. Okay, moving on. If you are missing baseball, there is baseball being played, you guys, and there are fans in the stands to a limited capacity, and that comes in the shape and form of the Caribbean Series, which just kicked off. Talk about some fun baseball being played right now. If you have a chance to check it out, you can find it on ESPN Deportes, and you can also find it on YouTube. And here we have some video footage, and we have some guys that are friends of the show, Jen, right, that are doing some big things down there.
Yeah, well, Juan Lagares was responsible for all 5 runs of the DR team. We have Robinson Cano playing in his first Caribbean Series, which was a surprise to me. I was like, wow, he hadn't played in a Caribbean Series, but what a time to do it, right? All eyes on him. You've got Ronald Guzman, who was the MVP for the team out in the DR. Now he's there representing. Then you've got Joan Camargo as well. I mean, there's a lot of MLB representation, like, major league players and prospects, young prospects who are out there really, really playing really, really well and putting on a show. I think a lot of fans want to see it. They, like we're talking right now, people are hungry for baseball, and they're going to get it anywhere and any way that they can. And the Caribbean Series has provided so much entertainment. You got Yachty playing first base for Team Puerto Rico. So it's a lot of fun to watch. And I mean, and then we got our guy in Mexico, Jesse Castillo, who is on fire. Fuego is Jesse Castillo with another home run last night. Put the Mexican team over Colombia 10-2. They're doing a lot of really fun stuff. It's good to watch, and just shout out to all of our guys, doing big things out there.
That's awesome. And we also have Yasiel Puig. Speaking of staying in shape during the offseason, if you're not playing in the Caribbean League, this is one way to do it. Getting his training done in the sand. Now, this is, first of all, when I look at this, the first thing that comes to mind is, oh my gosh, my knees. Because as somebody who walks on sand often, let me tell you, it scares me. I'm not really sure the philosophy behind this training practice. I know a lot of guys do it, but this scares me so much. Maybe it's just because my own knees. But I watch this and, oh my gosh, I just hope he stays safe, knock on wood. But we see a lot of guys using this sort of training as well, right, Jen?
Yeah, Latin America, I mean, the beauty of training in Latin America is that you have the beach, right? So you can get some nice vitamin D and then also be right by the beach. I mean, they say the ocean has curative powers, right? So, I mean, I am so for guys training at the beach. And obviously, I mean, when you're training on sand, there's something about it that, trains your core and all of that. You're training your whole body. But I mean, who doesn't want to train on the beach and in the sand? Once you're done, just come in and jump into the ocean. Ozzie, is this something that your dad might have done when he was training?
My dad never trained. My dad, at season ended, my dad would go hang out in the beach, drink beers, and come back. But you know what, though? I think, so I'll give you an example. So, like, a lot of the players that are from where Cafe Martinez is, Ronald Acuna, they put a lot of videos up, and people always say, like, they have a workout that everyone goes to the beach. It's like a 5 a.m. workout, and a lot of guys from that area, from, like, the big leaguers to, like, the guys that are just starting off, they do it. It's something that they do. They're from the beach, like that's their backyard. So for some guys, it's a comfort thing. It's like when Rocky went and trained in the snow because he was in a fight in that weather and he wanted to acclimate himself. I think these guys just feel really comfortable in that weather. It's something that for them they've been doing for a long time at that point. If I went out and trained in sand, it would probably be a really bad idea. I probably need both knee surgeries on both my knees. Right? But these guys are used to it. Yeah, but these guys are used to it. They love it. Again, they're getting ready. I'm still interested to see where Yasiel Puig lands. I think it's still a great role player to have, a nice little piece to add at the end. And again, people, have to realize baseball in Latin America is 24/7, 7 days a week, every day of the year. The Caribbean Series shows that. A mini World Baseball Classic. I was looking at all the rosters. Man, our baseball's gotten so much better and so good. Guys are just, playing in their prime, playing past their prime, but just playing in the Mazatlan, Mexico did an amazing job. Beautiful stadium, fireworks. They did great. And again, Vida Baseball, 2 years in a row. First year, Caribbean Series, Osne, who was on our show constantly, part of the Being was manager of the Colombian team. This year, it's Jesse Castillo, who's been putting on an offensive show since the playoffs. So for us, it's something we always had. We seem to have a connection to the guys there. But just keep watching. Just really good baseball. And if you're a baseball fan. What was that?
They got fans in the stands.
They got fans. Again, I like seeing that. Fans in the stands because why? If you use the protocols, that you're using there, you can apply them to the United States. Again, they seem to have been doing a really good job. And again, with the hotels I've been following, they got them quarantined. They bus each team's in a hotel. These are all things that you can learn from, okay? Learn what other countries are doing. Let's see if we can apply it here in the States and test it out because it's all going to be a test when we actually start getting the fans in.
Absolutely. Totally unproven, but remains to be seen. Congratulations to Padres Nation and Fernando Tatis Jr., who has just been selected to be the cover player cover athlete for MLB The Show 21. It was announced recently by Sony Interactive. Actually today, at just 22 years old, Tatís is the youngest player ever to be chosen to grace the cover and the first Padres player. So again, congratulations to San Diego. I have a lot of friends who are very excited for this. This is a great cover. And
so you know the company is in San Diego.
Sony Interactive, of course, yeah.
Of course. So the fact that they've never had a Padres player, I think it's funny. Well, I'm just saying, though, they've never had a player. So people are like, oh, he's the youngest guy. You have to be in the big leagues to be on the cover, okay? So not a lot of guys have a lot of options. That for him, I think 2 reasons. Super cool that he got to the big leagues this young and made the impact that he has. You know, when you look at it, he hasn't even played 162 games, but he is a guy that we love to follow, and the fans have really grown to love him.
How can you not choose him?
Correct, but for him, I think 2 things. I think number 1, I don't think any player, regardless of talent, if you think he's the best, I don't care, has had a quicker impact on fans than Tatis Jr. He's like a household name. He didn't even play a full season, okay? And all the kids love him. For him, I think it's a huge honor. As a former son, a player of a big leaguer, you grew up obsessed with video games and baseball. It's a way for you to imitate your father. It's a way for you to grow up and be playing. For him to be on the cover, for him, it's got to be super cool. My generation loves that. So I think they made the right pick. They had a lot of guys. I didn't think they were going to do it, to be honest, because they were going to be like back-to-back Latinos, shortstops. I thought that they might make them wait a year. They didn't. They went with the market and the guy that everyone wanted to see in the cover. So good for him. I got to play him now like I played Baez.
I mean, Ozzie, you say they had their choice. Jen, I don't know what your opinion is on this. To me, there was no other choice.
No,
it was obvious.
It was either Roberto Clemente because of Euro 21, right? 2021, or Tatis Jr. I mean, that's the only 2 that could have made sense. And I saw that trending on Twitter. That's why I mentioned it. But Fernando Tatis Jr. honestly has had an amazing year. And then this year, he was also, I think, the top number 1 tops card as well that they selected. So what a year for him as far as campaigns, promotions, signing on with Gatorade as well. MLB The Show is what all the players want to be a part of. And for him to do it at such a young age and such an early part of his career, I think amazing. Shout out to him, his family, and the DR. I know the DR is very, very proud right now, especially out in San Pedro, his hometown.
That's awesome. Congratulations to Fernando Tatis Jr. I'm hoping that at some point this upcoming season, we can get an interview with him some way, somehow.
Yes.
I'm hoping. All right. Before we go, we want to leave you with this little nugget of information. Filed this under I had no idea, something I learned that was brand new. Jen, thank you for bringing this to our attention, because did you know on this day back in 1914, with the Great Pyramid as a backdrop and the Sphinx, the Chicago White Sox and the New York Giants played in a 3-3 tie in an exhibition game that took place in Egypt. Now, this was part, just to fill in the blanks here, this was part of a global tour, which kicked off. They took a boat, okay? But 1914, okay, they didn't fly. They took a boat to Japan to kick off this tour that included stops along the way, playing in front of the Pope in Italy, all the way to the King in England. Can you imagine what the travel accommodations and conditions were like? I mean, first of all, I had no idea that baseball toured the world back in 1914, or that these 2 mega teams were a part of it. But how fascinating.
I mean, some of the things that I found fascinating was that baseball wasn't even integrated, right? Like, I mean, during this time, right? But they still wanted to travel the world and get baseball out in front of other countries and cultures and be a part of it. I mean, it's a lot of
America's pastime.
Yeah, America's pastime, right?
I had no idea, by the way. When I saw this on the rundown today, I was like, wait, what is? I had no idea. I had no idea that we had ever played in Egypt. I had no idea we ever been in Italy. That this has happened in Japan. The time that it happened, I always thought Charles Comiskey was like a guy that was cheap. That's what everyone in Chicago thinks, the owner, because of the Black Sox. But he was obviously traveling with guys all over the world. Super cool, though. One of those things that you learn in history. And, we overcomplicate things so much now. And then you see what they were doing in 1914, like a boat. Like, hey, how long is the voyage going to be? 4 hours? No. Try more like 20-something days.
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 And they were delayed 4 days because they had bad weather. They had rough seas. So can you imagine you show up for a game 4 days late?
You're also playing like in Egypt, like you're playing in, there's no grass, like where they were playing, like there, it's just sand. It's so, I mean, imagine the wind picks up at one point, and I mean, like, it's awesome. I think that this is so awesome. I would love for them to go back there and play another game. I think that would be so much fun.
I mean, I think we implement a world tour because, hey, come on, MLBPA, you can agree to that. Another point that I thought was rather interesting was that for the most part during this tour, they played amongst each other in an intra kind of set game. But in certain locations, there were already baseball teams. There were already guys playing this game, and they incorporated them. So it was almost like, you were able to go to a town, and if there were local players, you invited them to play with you. Can you imagine if you were like Egyptian and you were just living in Egypt, and all of a sudden these guys came to play in your backyard and you get to get the ball? I mean, that's incredible.
Where's the movie? I want to see the movie, like, because there had to be some great stuff that went down on these trips. So I want the movie.
I'm going to call Ken Burns and get him on it right now. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of La Vida Baseball Live. Thank you for joining us, Jen, Ozzie Jr. Always a pleasure. And we will see you later this week. Stay tuned to La Vida Baseball for all of your updated baseball news and pop culture. We'll see you next time.